So, you want to play rival schools, huh? Well, here is the most important rule. Forget everything about Street Fighter. Rival School, united by fate, or Shirisu Justice Gakuen Legion of Heroes, is a 3D fighting game developed and published for the Sony ZN2 arcade board in 1997 by Capcom before receiving a port on the PlayStation worldwide in 1998. Many would describe this game as a polygonal Marvel vs Capcom but without the tag aspect, and it garnered popularity around that time of its release more than Street Fighter 3 Second Impact. But is the game any good? Let's find out. So since we have 2 discs to work with, most of the focus will be on the arcade disc, and as you can see by the menu, there are not a lot of modes to work with here. So like Street Fighter 02, you only get 3 actual modes, being arcade, versus and practice. Gameplay, it is a 3D fighter with a lot of mechanics that has to offer, like super jumps, air blocks, throws and dashing, with other mechanics such as tardy counters, which operates in the same vein as alpha counters from the Alpha series, super jumps which propels you higher than a regular jump. Sidestep is also in this game, but it's called ditching. Rival launcher, which if you played a tag fighter, you launch your opponent in the air and follow with some air combos. And also featuring to the game, we have stuff like team up techniques and burning vigor attack. More on that later. The controls are pretty standard, however, this time, unlike most Capcom fighters, you don't get 6 buttons for attack, but you get 4 buttons, which plays like an SNK fighter with 2 punches and 2 kicks, both being light and heavy, which is standard if we're talking arcade. However, on the PlayStation you get shoulder buttons, which offers a lot more in accessibility of the mechanics I mentioned. R1 is ditching, where you can sidestep out of the way of attack should you choose not to jump or block. But if you want to do it like you would in the arcade, you press both kicks. R2 is throw, which grapples the opponent to do some damage, but this button can also do escapes. If you want to do it like the arcade, then you press both punches. L1 and L2 are burning vigor attacks, which are the super finishers, and you can opt to do the input for respected finishers. And finally, to do a team up attack, you do R1 and R2, or you press both punch and kick of the same strength. However, using this can take up 2 levels of your guts gauge. However, you cannot use it unless you are at guts level 2. Once team up technique is activated, it can allow you to do damage to your opponent like a double team attack, or fill up your guts meter by 5 points, which allows you to use burning vigor or fill up your life bar.
Oi bruv, you keep saying stuff like guts gauge and burning vigour. Care to explain, me little teapot?
Sure. At the lower corner of the screen is a bar called guts gauge, and at the beginning of every match the gauge begins at 3 levels and can be filled to a maximum of 9 levels. Every time a fighter uses their awesome attacks, normal or special moves, this gauge fills up. Burning Vigor can also be performed at the cost of 1 guts level, while team up attack costs 2 guts level. Wise usage of the surge of powerful attacks can determine a loss or victory, and as for Burning Vigor, once a guts gauge has reached at least level 1, you can perform a Burning Vigor attack, which is basically more or less a powerful version of your fighter's special attacks that usually deals with more damage. Roster wise, there are 20 characters to choose from, and you can have up to 2 characters in a team. Whilst you can't tag your teammates in, you can still do team up techniques, and should you win or lose, you can change your team members after a round has been finished. Graphically, it's all 32-bit polygonal models, which look really vibrant for the time. That's all I can say, really. Now, I did say there were 2 discs to work with, and frankly, Disc 2 has a lot of modes like Versus, 1 player, Training, League and Tournament, which everything I said about the first disc mechanic wise can be applied here. However, there are 4 unlockable modes that counts as minigames. 2 of them is where you play as Roberto, where you kick a ball at some points or do penalty shootouts. Next is a baseball-like minigame where you play as Shoma and you've got to hit ball with your bat, attempting to get home runs. And finally, a volleyball game where you play Natsu, who has to hit targets. And if you are seeing what you see on the screen, I fucking suck at these. Now, there is another mode that I have neglected to mention. This is called School Life. School Life mode acts as a visual novel, however that version can only be found on the Japanese version, and since my Japanese is somewhat terrible, I couldn't get into it. And this mode is not included in the Western releases, but translated patches exists. Now, is the game any good? Yes, it fucking is. And you know, it is a good game, it really fucking is, but it's also a shame that Capcom did not follow through with this series, because it's one of the, and I mean one of the best fighting games on the PlayStation. It is fun for what it is, and the game has a lot of depth to it, which makes it competent in terms of playing. I mean, you are going to get a lot from this game in terms of replayability and fun, and even if you completed everything, it is still one of the most fun games you could ever play. Now, if you want to buy the game, it's gonna cost quite a bit for PAL versions, which can go up to 70 quid. But if you are like me, modded console and all, Japanese versions can go up between 45 and 50 quid. And I know that's a bit much to pay for a game, but since it's a well sought out by collectors, owning this and adding it to your collection makes the price justified of buying it alone, especially when you have nothing but replayability to it. But however, if you're poor and you don't want to do that and pay for games, you can go on that route, if you know what I mean. So, If you like this video, remember to like, comment and subscribe if you so choose to. That does it for now. I've been Saku. Fuck off.